After the Season 2 premiere of The Old Man ended with a gunshot, going out on a literal bang if you will, it's time to find out just who shot whom. The possible combinations are many, as after weeks of Dan Chase and Harold Harper searching for Emily Chase in Forrest Hamzat's camp, it's Emily and Hamzat who wound up accidentally finding them instead. With everyone reunited and the threat of the Taliban looming, let's dive into Episode 3. Emily dashes into the hidden cave where Chase and Harper hid from the Taliban in the first episode, and where Hamzat entered at the end of the second, setting up yet another extremely awkward family reunion for the opening of the episode. Hamzat is currently lying injured from Harper's gunshot wounds. Fair enough. Harper believed Hamzat was going to shoot Chase. It's amazing how these people control their emotions, presumably through intelligence training. Since Emily couldn't even attend her own mother's funeral, this is the first time Chase and Emily had seen each other in, well, God knows how long. So they curl into a close embrace. You can't ignore the oddities, though. Emily hasn't addressed the fact that Chase has been lying to her all her life. Harper is still calling her Angela, and oh yeah, her biological dad is laying on the ground wounded in the chest from a gunshot. But one thing is certain, Emily isn't going to take the simple route and board a military helicopter to return to the U.S. Notwithstanding Hamzat's entreaties to her to accompany her adoptive fathers, she intends to stay until he gets medical attention. But to do this, she needs the assistance of her American fathers. Chase complies, but Harper finds it more difficult to believe Emily has grown attached to a man who the U.S. only knows as an adversary rather than as a multifaceted person. Chase gives them some advice as they head back down the mountain. This is not the moment to sour relations with Emily, who is still delving into her family's past. Leaving Hamzat behind to avoid getting killed? Yes, that would have made it certain that Emily would never talk to them again ever again. Given that Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow hardly appeared together in the previous season, the old man is sensibly stepping up these heartfelt moments between the two performers this time. Chase may be sympathetic to Emily, but he can't shake the anxiety that has plagued him ever since he assisted Bilar in leaving Afghanistan with their young daughter Parwana. He fears that Emily's love for him will be eclipsed by her daughter's newfound bond with Hamzat. Back in the hamlet, Omar and Khadija, who at X achieves such ridiculous levels of villainy that it's hard to take him seriously, continue their standoff from last week's episode. Though unsure Khadija has enough strength to keep Omar at bay on her alone, why put up the effort when her son can arrive in a helicopter bearing a big bundle of cash and speaking English with an American accent? In one of the old man's famous monologues, Omar is told by Khadija's son, "I apologize for not remembering his name," that he is in over his head, and that Faris Hamzat is still a powerful figure in Kabul despite anything he may have heard. It works whether it's because of the money, this guy's confidence, or both. After Omar and his soldiers depart, Khadija questions her son non-stop. "Thank you so much, because I'm still not sure how this particular story point works." The Hamzat family is in serious trouble, but not because of the Taliban, according to this new character. Instead, Morgan Boat is furious that Emily and Parwana were abducted, and as payback, he has frozen all of the Hamzat family's assets. Recall that Morgan Boat is the OG old man. He is the FBI's director and Harold Harper's, and Dan Chase's surrogate father. Unfortunately, Omar and his men stay around the village's periphery for a while, which gives Omar the opportunity to seduce Emily's little pal Farouk in last week's episode with his eerie charms. In a panic, Farouza, Farouk's mother, rushes toward her son while Omar courses information about Emily from him. Being smart, Farouk gives Omar a fantastic smack before running off. However, the unfortunate child's only reward for his bravery is the cold-blooded murder of his mother. Emily is gradually proving up in the mountains that she has actually inherited her killer instincts as she assists Chase in taking down two Taliban fighters by keeping one of them from getting to his rifle. Their impromptu party is connected to Omar via the walkie-talkie the soldiers left behind. Omar makes Hamzat an offer. The hamlet would stay secure if he turns himself in and tells the ministry in Kabul about the presence of 3 Americans. While Emily and Chase believe that there will be violence in the end, Hamzat wants to accept the deal. Emily believes that by being there and telling Omar the truth, she will diffuse the tension. Omar is curious as to why Hamzat abducted an FBI agent. However, in Emily's opinion, Angela Adams no longer exists, and you really cut right to the core of Harold Harper. According to Emily, the reason she is in Afghanistan is merely for a family get-together. As we attempt to process this simultaneously idealistic and risky strategy, We're given to another adorable moment of male bonding as Chase and Harper ride their horses across the steep landscape. Harper is understandably experiencing extreme emotions after learning that Angela Adams is no longer alive. Chase tells him that wasn't meant as a personal jab and that Harper, if Emily had been named Angela Adams, Parwana Hamzad, or Laura Loomer, would have moved heaven and earth to save her. At least Harper acknowledges that Emily's situation is much more challenging. After all, she came halfway around the world to find answers that no one else would give her. Chase was a fantastic father as well. You raised one hell of a kid. Please pardon me as I briefly started crying. Alright, I'm back. With a heartbreaking farewell to Emily, the foursome travels toward the village as Hamzat prepares to ride down alone as a martyr for his people. He falls at Omar's feet, and Emily, who has been observing everything from a safe distance, proves that she is equally as much a Hamzat as she is a Chase. How he hasn't bled out by now is anyone's guess. Harper and Chase are preoccupied debating where the rescue chopper should land, and she gallops off. Emily enters the confrontation head-on and gives Omar free rein. She does this partly for clarification. Omar is fully aware of her identity. If she complies, he will grant her extra clemency, and partly so she can evaluate the circumstances in private. When Emily spots Firuz's lifeless body on the ground and her American fathers are shown in the video, she realizes she isn't allowed to go with them. This is her family, and if she doesn't fight back, the Taliban will keep killing them. As she introduces herself, Parwana Hamzad, there isn't much time to rejoice over her decision to take ownership of her Afghan name. As Emily is about to stab Omar in the neck with her knife, Dan Chase appears out of nowhere and starts shooting at the Taliban soldiers as Emily and Hamzad run for shelter. There's nothing like gun violence to make you feel uncomfortable, am I right? Even when handling a machine gun, Dan Chase always has his daughter's back. And look, in a high-budget action scene that blows the military trucks up and kills a ton of background players, it's the helicopter coming to save the Americans, all of the principal characters, including Drat Omar, alive and well at the end of this scene. Emily doesn't think twice about purging Omar of the darkness that he represents as he whimpers for assistance while crawling on the ground. Omar stops whimpering as she shoots 2 bullets into the back of his head with an enraged expression. Despite going by Parwana Hamzad, she is actually Dan Chase's daughter.